So today I'm going to try out the Royal Condor Spray backpack, and I'm going to be looking at three things. Is it ergonomically comfortable to wear for a couple of hours at a time? Is it going to give me a chemical shower if I bend over wearing it? And number three, is the mechanism going to be strong enough to last the distance like my old model that I've had for 30 years? And if you like this sort of content, make sure you check out the video at the end where I go into the myths surrounding Roundup, its toxicity, and why you should treat it with respect. Hey. So first up, let's have a look and see what you get inside the pack. There's some assembly required. We get our spray wand and our pump handle, along with a few O-rings and a few bits and pieces and a few screws and some lubricant. I like the fact that they're already including lubricant. It means that this thing's serviceable. The main sprayer itself already has a couple of nice features that I see straight away. We've got some grab handles on the main backpack frame. The tank is attached to a separate frame for the harness, which also comes with quite squishy, firm padding. So that's a win as far as I'm concerned. That's looking like it's going to be comfortable. And of course, like all of these sprayers, you get this little filter thing that usually ends up being lost or getting thrown away. The hose already comes attached, and the spray nozzle trigger is plastic, but it does have brass fittings. And we get a cap with a rubber flap breather. That might become an issue in terms of leakage, like most of these sprayers. We'll see how it copes with being inverted. And as usual, I'll be sure to follow the instructions. The sprayer was pretty easy to put together. All it required was a couple of nuts to be done up for the compression lever on the pump, and you have to choose the nozzle you want. The really cool part about this is you can tell it's a professional sprayer because you get three options. You get a steel variable spray nozzle, you get a plastic soaker nozzle, and then you also get a fan jet nozzle, which is my personal preference for most of the jobs you're going to do. They give you some spare washers and they give you some lubricant so the trigger doesn't jam halfway through spraying. So some initial observations: there's a lot of brass and steel in this. There is no scrimping or cheating, not a lot of plastic parts. And what I also like is that the pump here is made of steel and it's external, so if anything goes wrong, you can replace washers, you can replace diaphragms and all of that sort of thing without having to go inside the tank, which is good and hints to the professional quality of this sprayer. Now I think what we should do is we should just fill it with some water, put it on our back, walk around for a while, see if it leaks on me. Okay, so this is now filled to the 20 litre capacity, and I'm going to do a pretty standard typical thing, and that is that when I pull the hose out, it's going to be dribbling a bit. I'm going to pour some water over the top, because you always tend to spill a little bit of chemical or a little bit of water when you fill things up. I know you shouldn't, but you do, and anyone who's done this job before will agree with me on that. This brings me to the next important difference between this sprayer and my Old Faithful and most of the other sprayers in the commercial market, and that is that this has a separate backpack frame that separates you from the tank that's got the spilled chemical and water on it, allowing you that little bit extra distance between you and the poison, which I think is a brilliant feature of this backpack. Thankfully, the harness adjusts really easily. My only concern now is I've put the spray wand on this stupid clip, and the only way I can get it is by holding it by the end where the chemical comes out, rather than up near the trigger handle. So I think I would prefer if the wand was stored up on top of the sprayer rather than beside it. Maybe that's a small point, maybe you just don't use the hook. All right, let's go and spray some water. Now remember, I'm only using water, so I won't be wearing PPE while I'm spraying the water, but I am going to then swap over to chemical and spray with chemical, and I'll be demonstrating the PPE that you should be wearing. The pump pressurizes really, really quickly, and there's barely any effort required. With my old sprayer, I've actually hurt my elbow and got a sort of a tennis elbow from having to pump the sprayer so often. That's now up to full pressure, and it pumps out a really easy to control and I dare say quite even spray out of the fan nozzle. I'm very, very pleased with that, and I think it's absolutely great that a sprayer like this comes with a proper fan nozzle. You don't have to go and buy this as an optional extra like you do with others. Now we're back up to full pressure, and let me tell you, that was super easy. I could barely feel that. Right, let's take this off and see if any's leaked down my back. And there are a couple of wet patches. Now, whether that was the wet patches from me filling up or from this leaking down my back, we'll find out now. So test number one, let's go jogging. And yep, this is the same fault I see in all backpack sprayers. If you have a look at the top here, when I jiggle it about, you can see very clearly that there's water coming out of the breather. I have not yet found a backpack sprayer that doesn't leak out of the top breather when you walk around and it's full. So my recommendation with this sprayer would be the same as with any other sprayer on the market, and that is only ever 3/4 fill them. And when you're walking around, make sure you don't jiggle what's in your back, because it'll end up on you. I think it's something that I would urge all of these manufacturers to look into improving. At least, as I said before, with this backpack sprayer, unlike the others on the market, you do get a frame keeping you a centimetre or so separate from the chemical tank. So when the water leaks out and runs down the tank, it's not going to come into contact with your back straight away, but I wouldn't be relying on that. So let's go through, suit up, and actually use this for what it's designed to do, spray Roundup. Now I know some of you are probably going to have a go at me and say it's only Roundup. Read the label. The reason why we're going to lose access to important tools and chemicals is because people don't follow the instructions, don't protect themselves, and then complain to the manufacturer when they get cancer. Well, after a bit of time using the backpack sprayer, what do I like? I love the pump. It's got really good pressure regulation. You don't have to continuously pump it, which is hard on the old elbow. It will maintain a consistent pressure for a surprising period of time. I love the fact that the pump is external and made out of brass and steel fittings as well. That's going to look really good for longevity. I also really like the capacity of the backpack sprayer because, as I said, all of these backpack sprayers have a really dodgy breather on the top. I've never come across one that works properly when you jiggle it about. So as a result, you can only ever really 3/4 fill these things. With a 20 litre capacity, I still got 15 litres of usable capacity without getting a wet back out of this particular sprayer. I also love the handles on the top here and the separated frame that at least keeps you an inch or so separated from the container, which could easily have some chemicals spilt over the top of it from prolonged use. Overall, this is probably the best backpack sprayer I've ever used, and it's certainly going to become part of my arsenal for looking after the property. Guys, if you like reviews like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button or you'll miss out, and I'll catch you next week with something else.